Hello, friends. Okay, so today we have a story. I'm going to call it We Never Touched Until We Did. This is a story that I have been having in my head for a while, and I'm like, why not do an ASMR series with it? So, don't know that anyone's going to be interested in it, but I've been kind of working on this story for several months already anyways. So we're just going to go with it in these videos, even if no one watches. I'm going to enjoy. So this is going to be a story that takes place in the 1700s, in the dead of winter, and in the middle of war. These are two men who probably wouldn't call what they're feeling anything at all. You know, being gay didn't exist back then. But put them in a tent together with one blanket and no pants. Something's bound to happen. This is going to be a slow burn, quiet, intimate, a little bit messy, and yes, there's going to be tension, a lot of it. I'll let the story take it away from here. Before we get in actually too, I will say I have been very fascinated with the idea of just kind of what it was like to be gay in the 1600s, 1700s, any time period in history. I just think it's fascinating to see where we've come and gone. But I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and get in. So, narration/whispered intro. It was the winter of 1767. The war had dragged on longer than anyone expected. A haze of blood, bone, and frost that wore down even the proudest of men. Adrian had stopped trying to count the days. He had seen too much. The cruelty of man, the indifference of snow, but nothing prepared him for Silas. Silas wasn't just a soldier. He was a storm in human form. Reckless, sharp, unpredictable, and beautiful in a way that should have been dangerous. Also, for context, Adrian's last name is Evans. Silas's last name is Burke. So Adrian Evans, Silas Burke. Okay. Scene. The camp, early evening, distant shouting, footsteps in slush. Adrian arrives at command tent. Commander. Evans. New lodging assignment. You'll bunk with Silas Burke from now on. Orders came down this morning. Adrian, careful. Sir, Burke, he's... Commander, yes, him. Don't question it. He's been moved off of reconnaissance. I'm terrible with that word. You know what? Let me go listen to how the word's pronounced. Something about seeing that word, my mind could not say it. Reconnaissance. Honestly, I still feel like it sounds a little weird. I've heard the word before, I know what it means. Anyways, yes, him. Don't question it. He's been moved off of reconnaissance, and you're the only one who hasn't tried to strangle him yet. Adrian doesn't reply. He simply nods, takes the parchment, and moves towards the row of tents. Scene shift. Adrian opens the flap to his new tent. Inside, it's already warm. A single candle glows from a grate, casting shadows across Silas's half-bare chest as he sharpens a dagger, lounging like he owns the space. Silas, without looking up, you snore? Adrian, dryly, only when I'm dreaming of peace. Silas smirks. Guess I'll have to keep you awake then. Adrian didn't answer right away. He shut the tent flap behind him, sealing out the bite of the wind, but not the tension in the air. He unbuckled his coat slowly, carefully, like peeling off armor. His eyes lingered on the floorboards, then, briefly, cautiously, flicked up to Silas. Adrian, coolly, try it and I'll have you reassigned by morning. Silas, still sharpening. You do know how to make threats. A pause. You're more interesting than you look, Evans. Adrian folded his coat and sat up by the cot. The one beside Silas's, because, of course, there was no space on this damn tent for anything else. Only 2 thin bedrolls, a single wool blanket between them, and enough cold to make a man ache down to his teeth. Silas, glancing up now. They didn't tell you about me, did they? Adrian, measured. They told me enough. Silas, softly, like a dare. Then you heard I bite. Adrian snorted the faintest sound of disbelief, but didn't rise to it. Instead, he sat down, back against the tent wall, boots still on, resting one arm on his bent knee. Adrian, I don't care what you do, Berg. Just don't touch my pack or the blanket. Silas, mock offended. You think I'm after your blanket? That thing barely counts as linen. Adrian, then don't steal it in the night. Silas, grinning now. No promises. Silence hangs between them for a moment, pierced only by the sound of distant gunfire far beyond the hills. Then, Silas, more thoughtful. It gets colder than hell after midnight. If you've got a better plan than huddling up, you better share it. Adrian, I plan to sleep, nothing more. Silas, fair warning. The last lad I bunked with said the same thing, then came crawling over around hour 3, teeth chattering like a dice in a cup. Adrian didn't look over, but his jaw clenched slightly. Adrian, quietly, I'm not the last lad. Silas, after a pause, voice softer now. No, you're not. Scene, the tent later that evening. The candle burns lower. Silence stretches, save for the occasional pop of snow sliding off the canvas. Adrian sat right up against the wall, arms crossed, eyes half closed but alert. Silas lay back on this bedroll, hands behind his head, staring at the ceiling. Adrian, internally, he's quiet now, probably plotting some kind of smart remark. Or maybe he's actually tired. Unlikely. That damned smirk, like he knows something I don't. Adrian shifted slightly, the blanket rustling. He hadn't meaned to look when Silas had stretched earlier, that kind of lazy stretch that men do when they know they're being watched. And yet, no, that's not what it was. Just tension, from the war, from the cold. It messes with a man's mind. Silas, internally, he's still sitting like as straight as a fence post. What is he guarding? Me? Or himself? Silas allowed a slow, almost a motorcycle went by. Silas allowed a slow, almost imperceptible smile. There's something there, behind the quiet. Something angry, something curious, something that looks away too fast. He turned onto his side, propped his head on the one hand. Silas, lightly, you always sit like that, or is that just for me? Adrian, dryly, you're not that special. Silas chuckled. Silas, no, but I might be, eventually. Adrian, internally, arrogant bastard. Why does that make my chest feel warm? Scene continues. The tint remains dim, flickering orange against the canvas. Snowfall softens the world outside. Silas sat up slowly, the shift of his weight creaking against the floorboards. He reached for a small tin beside his pack and pried it open. Dried meat, a few sad scraps of bread. Silas, have you eaten today? Adrian, not hungry. Silas, tearing a piece off. Hunger is not polite enough to wait until you're ready for it. He tossed a piece of bread in Adrian's directions. It hit the blanket and bounced off harmlessly. Adrian glanced at it, unimpressed. Adrian, do you throw food at all your bunkmates? Silas, shrugging, just the pretty ones. Adrian didn't answer, but his eyes narrowed for half a second. He didn't throw the bed back. He didn't need it either. Silas leaned back again, chewing. A quiet filled the space between them. Not exactly comfortable, but not hostile either. Just cold. Silas, internally, he didn't deny being pretty. Progress. Silas, after a pause. You got someone back home? Adrian. No. Silas. Sweetheart waiting on letters? A girl with your name on her ribbon? Adrian. I said no. Silas, smirking, touchy. Adrian, internally, because the truth is complicated, because even he doesn't know what he wants. Adrian, exalted, slow through his nose, and then finally moved to untie his boots. It was late. The candle flickered low. The floor was biting through his trousers. He laid back onto the bedroll with a quiet grunt, arms folded under his head, staring upward like Silas had earlier. Their shoulders were inches apart. Silas, quietly. They say frostbite gets you faster when you're sleeping. Easier to lose a toe that way. Adrian, good thing I'm not planning on falling asleep next to a thief. Silas, I'm a lot of things, Evan, but I'm not a thief. A pause, then a grin with his voice. Not unless you count hearts. Adrian rolled his eyes. Adrian, I count heartaches. They fell into silence again. This one quieter, closer. Adrian internally. Why is he still talking? Why do I want him to? Scene, same tent, minutes later. The candles burned low. It's wax pooling at the base. The cold presses in harder now, tighter around the edges of the tent. Adrian shifted again, this time tucking one arm underneath the makeshift pillow of his folded coat. The floor creaked beneath him as he tried and failed to find a position that didn't ache. Silas stayed quiet now. Still awake though, Adrian could feel it. The man's breath wasn't even, not quite. And he hadn't moved, not really, which somehow made it more obvious. A draft licked through a seam in the canvas. Adrian clenched his jaw. Adrian, flat. You're hogging the blanket. Silas instantly didn't touch it. Adrian, exactly. He reached between them, tucking the wool square toward his side. It barely shifted. Silas, grinning in the dark. You planning to keep that all to yourself? Generous. Adrian didn't answer. He dragged it just enough to cover his shoulder, then stilled again. The cold had teeth tonight, sharper than usual. Even the candle seemed to shrink from it. Silas, You know, they stitched this thing for two. Adrian turned his head slightly towards the voice. Silas wasn't looking at him. He was watching the tent roof again, eyes shadowed but open. You offering to, Adrian measured, you offering to share or just gloating? Silas, soft snort. Depends. You still counting heartaches? A silence stretched between them, taut, aware. Then Adrian exalted through his nose, a low sound, more resigned than annoyed. He adjusted the blanket just enough so that the edge touched Silas's arm. Adrian, if we're both dead by the morning, at least I won't have to hear you complain about it. Silas, quietly, amused. Don't tempt me, Evans. I'm already composing my eulogy. Adrian rolled onto his side, facing away. The candle gave its final sputter and went out. The tent plunged into shadow. Only their breaths remained now. Measured, separate, but not distant. Not for long. Scene, the tent, deep night, darkness thick as pitch. Their breaths still the only sound. Adrian hadn't planned to move, but his shoulder was freezing. The blanket was not enough, and Silas, irritatingly, was right. The cold did bite harder in sleep. He shifted onto his back slowly, quietly, then glanced sideways through the dark. He couldn't see Silas. Not exactly, but he could feel him. The faint rise and fall of breath, the outline of him, warm and frustratingly still. Adrian, internally. This is stupid. We're soldiers. We're surviving. That's all it is. He turned onto his side, toward him, and hesitated. Then, one small, decisive motion at a time, he closed the space between them. Silas didn't speak, didn't laugh, didn't move. Their bodies met lightly, chest to back, knees brushing, the curve of Adrian's hand resting tentatively at Silas's waist through the shared wool. Silas's shirt was thin, Adrian's was thinner, and because of that, and beneath that, nothing but skin. Adrian, internally, God, he's warm, too warm. A beat passed, then another. Adrian relaxed, just a little. His legs shifted again, unthinkingly, aligning more naturally. The blanket fell around them now, like a tent within the tent. His hand, half curled, moved with the slow rhythm of Silas's breath just above his hip, still but aware. And then Silas exhaled, a small amused sound, not quite a laugh. Silas, slow, low, and sly, didn't peg you for the cuddling type. Adrian gritted. Don't flatter yourself. Silas, too late. They lay there like that for a while, warm, closer than men ought to be, close enough that Adrian could no longer ignore the truth creeping over him, slow and deliberate as dawn. The heat wasn't just external now. His breath hitched, barely audible. His body, treacherous thing, answered to something he wouldn't name. Adrian, internally, no, not now, not him. Silas shifted slightly then, either to get more comfortable or because he knew. And then the movement brought them even closer. A thigh, a hip, warm skin brushing against warmer skin. And that was it. Adrian clenched his jaw. Adrian internally, God damn it. Silas, quietly with the devil's grin you could hear, well, hello there. Seen the same tent moments later, their bodies now pressed close beneath the wool. Breath, heat, heartbeat. Silas shifted again, just barely, enough to make the contact more intentional. Silas murmured, grin in his voice. Didn't think I had that kind of effect on you, Evans. Adrian didn't answer. Couldn't. His jaw was still tight. His breath shallow. His body louder than he wanted it to be. Adrian internally. It's just the cold. It's just the proximity. It's not. God, shut up. He wanted to pull away. He didn't. Silas tilted his head slightly, enough to glance back through the dark, eyes catching the faintest sheen of starlight through the canvas. Silas, teasing, yet hushed. You're awful quiet. Does that mean I win? Adrian exulted sharply through his nose, somewhere between a scoff and a surrender. Adrian, you're imagining things. Silas, am I? He leaned back into him lightly, just enough to feel the full outline of Adrian's tension, the unmistakable shape of arousal between them. Nope, not imagining that. Adrian froze, just for a second, then rolled his eyes in the darkness. Adrian, do you ever shut up? Silas, not when I'm winning. A pause. Silas, quieter. Not when I'm warm. Another pause. This one held. Adrian, internally. This is insane. We're soldiers. We're strangers. But Silas's breath was steady now. Close. His body relaxed into Adrian's. No longer poking fun. Just present. I should move. I should. But his back fits too well against me. And for the first time in weeks, I don't want to think. Adrian just let himself breathe. Just that. Then, almost without meaning to, his hand settled more securely at Silas's waist. Not suggestive, not pulling, just staying. Silas, barely audible. Night, Evans. Adrian hesitated, and then, finally, softly, Adrian, night. Their bodies remained pressed, no words left between them now, just the weight of everything unspoken in the steady rhythm of two men not quite sleeping, but not pulling apart either. I don't know how often I'm going to film these parts, but that is the end of part 1. I don't know how often or how quickly I'm going to write these parts, so I don't know how quickly these videos are going to come out, but I have been making small versions of this story for, like I said, months now. The idea of 1700s and being gay is just so fascinating to me. And some of the dialogue that they might have used between each other and some of the thoughts that they might have had with each other. Like here, Silas is very open to it verbally, but it's also kind of just the way a lot of men joked with each other. And, say things like, oh, be careful, you're going to make me fall in love with you, or wow, you're prettier than my wife. Like, things like that might have been said. And then Adrian was a little bit more of the reserved type. But obviously, we've seen here that we started to see his interest peak. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed my slightly spicy story here, and I will see you guys for the next part whenever that comes out, and let me know what you guys think. And I'll see you soon.